Jason's back in 3D.
I turned around, and standing there was this hideous-looking man.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dave Cave. I, as always, am Dave. Now, before we get started, stay on top of all things horror and a little bit of heroes as it comes fresh out of the Dave Cave. Hit that subscribe and ding the bell so you don't miss a minute. Today we continue on my reviews for the entire Friday the 13th franchise, this time with Part 3, 3D. Part 3 has Steve Miner coming in to direct yet again for the third time in a row now. You have Dana Kimmel coming in as Chris, the final girl, and then Richard Brooker in as this version of Jason. I don't know if he's going to be back, but I liked him in this one. We'll get to that. Part 3 picks up moments after the second one. Like, it could be the same day, it might be the next day. They don't really give you a full-on what happened, but on the TV you get an idea that everything's been found out. They've found the camp, everybody's been massacred, and the sole survivor is Ginny. And then you also get a replay of the second one in the third one. Again, I hated it, but this time it was a little bit more forgivable because at the end of it, they blended it into this one. They showed Jason get up after being hacked, which was nice. It was a little bit of change on the 1 into 2 transition. The 2 to 3 transition felt very much the same. It was very dragging. I didn't like the beginning of it, but it showed Jason go. He gets up, and then you get him just going. He continues to go on his reign of terror, and that's where this one picks up. And then Jason's just out in the woods killing people. And while Jason is out in the wilderness now, yet again, on the prowl, not going after Ginny, not tying up any loose ends there, he comes across this whole new group of kids that we don't have any connection to, we don't know, and it isn't until later that we kind of get a weak little connection, but for right now, they're all unassuming, and they just, for all intents and purposes, happen to be too close to Camp Crystal Lake, but they're not at the camp. We'll talk about that. Now, it hurts me to say this, but there's not a lot to talk about in this category, so let's just jump into the things that I liked. The first thing that I liked in this film wasn't even a thing that I loved, unfortunately, because I was hoping I was going to love it, was Jason. Now, I enjoy the fact that he is a monster in this one, and I don't mean an actual monster. His face is all messed up and whatnot, but he is a big, huge, imposing dude. I like that. I like the visual of the fact that his clothes are too small on him because he's such this Hulk. It's different from the last one, which is fine. Like I said, I understand that there's an evolution that is going to happen in the physicality of Jason and what happens to him. And I like that these are the first steps into that because I like hockey mask Jason. And that's the next thing I want to talk about. We get a hockey mask. We get a great visual of him on the dock. I thought it was very gnarly and very interesting. The fact that when we get the reveal of the mask, it's just, oh, there's a big fucking dude on that dock looking at me with a harpoon gun. What? Oh, fuck. And then dead. I like that. It was quick, but at the same time, you're just like, oh, shit. Like, I guess he's not stalking around anymore. He's just out there, and he's got his mask, and holy shit, that's awesome. And even though I really did like Jason in this film, even he had missteps. Even he had problems that I wasn't a big fan of. We're going to keep away from those for now because this is the part of the video where I like to talk about the stuff that I like about the film. So moving along. The next thing I did like was the practical effects. But again, mostly. I didn't love all of them. Sometimes the effect landed. Sometimes the effect was awesome. Sometimes it was bad. And sometimes it was shit. You have a mix of that in there. But when it was good, it was really good. I was a really big fan of it, and that's going to lead me into the next thing that I really liked about this, which we again are then going to talk about later, is the kills. The kills were definitely a glaring plus in an otherwise pretty meh movie. I love the kills, the variety and all that. We're going to get into that more when we get to the ugly, but for right now, know that that was a big plus for this movie for me. Absolutely. Kills, well done. Now I know what you're saying. Dave, that was a really short The Good section. I know, and it breaks my heart. So we're moving along, talking about what I didn't like. The first thing I didn't like in this film, it was something that it took a while for me to get my finger put on it, but it was the fact that This film, this slasher, could have been anybody. Save for the 5-minute recap and the very weak tie-in that they have Chris into Jason with just a random encounter that she ran away from her parents and came across him. And then also you have a quick little Pamela Voorhees callback to the first one jump scare. But it wasn't even really a jump scare because you knew it was coming a mile away. They built it up so terribly in it. But if you take those out of it, there was no tie-in to Jason. They don't even call him Jason. This could have been just some random deformed asshole out in the woods. There was no real connection to the other ones. It didn't feel like a Friday the 13th film. I don't know why they didn't have some kind of land more with the Jason storyline. You have these people that are around here. Obviously in part 2 you have Crazy Ralph trying to tell people, and you get a moment. You get this fake Crazy Ralph that kind of says, hey, don't go this way. But you don't get any outreaching mythos of being around Camp Crystal Lake and the crazy mom that you found out was trying to keep everyone away from Camp Crystal Lake, and then she got her head chopped off, and then the legend of Jason. Like, you didn't get any kind of sense that these kids had any reason for pause being around there. Sure, there was the ambulance scene, and Chris has this little random chance encounter with Jason 2 years before this, which he also doesn't look how he did at the end of part 2, even though part 2 happened like a day or two ago. And there's no semblance of, Camp Crystal Lake. It doesn't get mentioned. You don't get any name of Jason, as I said before, and you get no Friday the 13th. And you have no reason that Chris would have this dream of Pamela Voorhees grabbing her and pulling her into the water. There's no reason for that. I understand that they try to play on the, oh, she's gone crazy kind of thing, and then Jason is still dead in the barn. But why would she know Pamela Voorhees? Why would she see this waterlogged dead body with the sweater on? And it doesn't make sense. She has no connection to Jason. She saw him for all of 5 minutes, and then Jason dragged her away, and then she woke up randomly, and her parents never mentioned it again. Connections between the first two and this one were basically non-existent, and the movie suffered for me because I didn't give a shit about anybody in this movie. And that leads me into the next thing I didn't like about it. And that is the fact that 90% of the characters in this movie are caricatures. You have fake Ralph, as I mentioned before, where you have the just random dude, he's trying to be creepy, and hey, he gave me an eyeball and he said to go away, and also Jason doesn't talk. And then you have the pot couple, and you have the sex couple, and in the pot couple you have this Tommy Chong looking fucker. And then you have the one character that I absolutely could not stand, Shelley. I hated the fact that he was just this self-deprecating comic relief. Everyone else in the other ones were a group of friends that they played off each other. Everybody made fun of each other. There was an interplay there. There was a good chemistry among the people. You just had Shelley in this one hating himself. Like, haha, let's laugh at the fat dude. Let's laugh at the guy that hates himself. Let's laugh at the guy that doesn't get dates because he doesn't have any confidence. It really didn't land for me. It completely took it away, and I didn't care when he died. I didn't care really when anybody died. At least in part 1 and part 2, I gave a shit about the final girl. I didn't care at all if Chris died in this one. I did not care one little bit. They did a horrible job with this group of, friends, not even counselors. No, you got to give me one person, just one person to give a shit about. And I had none of them in this one. And now we're going to talk about the last thing that I did not like about this film really at all, was the fake scares. Now, I've mentioned before that I like the sometimes bait and switch of, oh, maybe they're going to die, maybe they're not. Maybe they're going to get grabbed, maybe they're not. Maybe this. But they did it too much. Way too much in this one. In the first, I'd say, 20 minutes of knowing these people, you had probably 5 or 6 of those moments. So then you get this whole boy who cried wolf aspect to it, where you know when there's going to be a jump scare. You know when there's going to be a grab, but then you don't care. Because then when it does end up being Jason, you're like, oh shit, that's right, I was supposed to care. But they've done it 15 times before now, so you're desensitized to the jump scare and they don't build it up properly. You just randomly have someone open a car door and then get their hand grabbed and you're like, oh shit, but that's not going to happen this early in the film. It was poorly done. Poorly done on the suspense, the way you build up to the jumps, all of it. It just... Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the best part of this film, easily the kills. Friday the 13th Part 3 comes in with the highest kill count to date with 12. There was an awesome variety of kills. Some of them were ultimately in the same style, but they were different enough that it was noticeable that he was trying. They were trying to make these kills look different, and some of them were awesome. Some of them were pretty lame, but overall, I enjoyed the kills. As I said before, sometimes the practical effects were really good, like with Andy, and sometimes they were really bad, like with the harpoon in the eye of Vera. That was really bad. You can't get past it. It was a bad kill. It was cool. It played a little bit on the whole 3D thing, but ultimately, it just... the eye effect wasn't good. And then sometimes you get something just simple but gnarly, like the kill at the very beginning with the sewing needle through the head. And then other times you get something I actually laughed out loud when it happened, was the head squeeze kill on Rick. He squeezes him and the eyeball pops out at the screen. Again, playing on the 3D effects. Sometimes they were bad. You can't get around it. Sometimes they were bad, but other times they were awesome. And for Friday the 13th Part 3, my award for favorite kill of the film, absolutely without a doubt, goes to Andy. You have Andy walking down the hallway on his hands, which they laid the groundwork for earlier in the film, and you get this very quick, very awesome slice down the middle by Jason with one hack of the machete and cuts his shit. We don't see how far it does, but it cuts him right down the middle. It was awesome. It was quick, and then the reveal we finally get was awesome. The effects on that, seeing his guts, the blood dripping down, which leads to a callback kill. Awesome. Andy, awesome kill, awesome death. Thank you very much. And now for a very different reason than for Part 2, I want to know what your favorite kill is of Part 3. Because there's a big variety. Some of them, like I said, are dumb. Some of them are really cool. What's your favorite? Hit the comments. Let me know. Now for some of my final thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 3. Ultimately, I wasn't a big fan of it, which is a bummer to say, because if you've seen my Part 1 and Part 2 reviews, you know that I am loving this series so far. I was bummed, because I was very looking forward to Hockey Mask Jason, the Jason that I knew, albeit not a lot, but I've known the Hockey Mask Jason, so this is our intro into that. I was looking forward to that. It was kind of a letdown. I wish I cared more about the people. The 3D aspect they play into so hard, and it doesn't age well. I respect it for what it was. It was a huge thing back then. I get it. I understand the reason that they did it the way they did it. It was a cool effect then, but it doesn't play well now. It's really ridiculous. You get a lot of these like, oh, hey, let me grab this moments, and it's just like, oh, okay. Like I said, with the Rick kill, he squeezes his head and the eyeball flies at the screen. It's ridiculous, and they do it way too much. It just doesn't end well, but like I said, it's okay. And talking again real quick about Jason, I like that we got him. We got him in the Jason more so that I know, as I said, but you get a Jason in this one that groans. He gets hit, and he's like, what the hell? No, Jason doesn't talk. Even in the second one, he doesn't make a sound. It completely threw me off. I was like, hold on, wait a second. Did he just get hit and like, and when Chris is slashing at his face, he's backing up and like trying to like not get hurt? Like, what the hell was that? Ultimately, I'm glad that I'm past it. I didn't realize what Part 3 was going to be, but I'm glad that I'm past it. I'm bummed that I feel that way about it, but I'm glad to be moving on. And now that we are past Part 3, we're moving right along to Part 4. That will be coming on Tuesday, so make sure you check back for the final chapter. Well, kinda. But while you are waiting for my review for Part 4, I did reviews already for Part 1 and Part 2. I have links to both of those in the description below. Go check them out. And while you're down there, I have links to my Instagram and Twitter, both of which are at @thedaveCave_. Post over there. when I'm not posting here. And that is going to do it for me today. Thank you so much, as always, for stopping by the Dave Cave. I'll see you all on Tuesday for part 4. But until then, take care.